Hi everyone, my name is JT Pilot and today we'll be making another video. This time we'll be doing a 1/4 scale model airport day at my Jacksonville Fictional Model Airport. And this is the 29th update for February of 2024. So today's the airport day will have a Super Bowl theme to it and a Valentine's Day theme, just because on the day I'm recording this is Super Bowl Sunday and Valentine's Day is coming up in the next few days. So I'd like to say happy Valentine's Day to all my followers. So we do have a few references to both the Super Bowl and Valentine's Day throughout this video, because there's a lot of Southwest aircraft representing the love theme of this video. So yes, I just want to give this airport day a little theme to it since Valentine's Day is coming up, so one thing I want to mention before I proceed further on this video. So feel free to skip this part if you like, but I do want to say that a Q&A video will be coming up from my YouTube channel soon, and if you do want to submit a Q&A question, feel free to use the Google form in the description below if you want to submit your question, because there will be a Q&A video coming soon with a face reveal for me as well, and I'll be answering various questions from all of you. So feel free to ask any questions you'd like me to answer, and just be appropriate, and that's all I'm really asking for. So you can ask me any aviation questions or any questions about myself. So nonetheless, we'll be starting off all the aircraft taxiing around, then we'll be moving on to Terminal 1. So, nonetheless, let's get started with all the taxiing aircraft. So, start with the first aircraft. Here a JetBlue Airbus A320 in the Prism Tail. This aircraft is number 1 for takeoff for a flight out to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And throughout this video, there's a few new routes. I just want to change it up a little bit and represent some of your guys' home cities better. So moving on to your next aircraft. You're the Iceland Airbus 747 MAX 9 in the magenta tail, that lovely NG release. This aircraft is number 2 for takeoff for a flight out to Reykjavik. Our next aircraft here is the Panama Southwest 747 in the Harlow-West Skimmer winglets. This aircraft has just arrived from Albany. New York, and he'll be heading out to Fort Lauderdale today. Moving on to our next aircraft. Here, the Sun Country Boeing 747-800. He's number 4 for takeoff for a flight out to Milwaukee. Moving on to our next aircraft. Here, the Alaska 747-900ER. He's just riding from Seattle to Tacoma and making a return flight out there. Moving on to our next model here, the lovely Altitude Miles JetBlue Airlines A320-200 with sharklets. So we'll say this aircraft is just riding from Richmond in Virginia, and it'll be heading out to White Plains later on today. And our next aircraft up is the WestJet 747-700 in the older livery. So I will be soon getting the Panama's release of this aircraft in the new livery. Cannot wait to get that model. But in today's airport day, we'll just be representing the older livery. So this aircraft has just arrived in from Calgary and making a return flight out there in the coming hours. Moving on to our next aircraft. Here, the Delta Airlines A321-200. He's just riding from New York John F. Kennedy, and he'll be making a return flight out there in the coming hours. And moving on to our next aircraft here, the Spirit A320-200. He is just riding in from Indianapolis, and he's making a return flight out there in the coming hours. And moving on to our next aircraft here, the this pretty mediocre Gemini Frontier was A320neo in the Champ Bronco tail. So I'm going to call this the engine scraper model, just because the engines on this model are so huge that they do scrape the ground. So this aircraft would not be fit to fly in real life, but Gemini decided to release this model in an unairworthy condition. So but anyways, this Frontier was A320neo. We'll be heading out to Cancun today. So Frontier have announced a new Cancun route as part of their expansion around Jacksonville. Hopefully we'll be seeing some more Frontier models being released in the future, because I would like to include some more Frontier models besides these pretty mediocre Gemini models. So and our next model up is the lovely Aeromexico 737. Sorry about that. Focus error. So moving on to our next aircraft here, the Aeromexico 747-800 in this in a normal livery, and this aircraft will be heading out to Mexico City. And our next aircraft up is the British Airways Boeing 787-10, and he'll be heading out to London Heathrow. Moving on to our next aircraft here, the World Atlantic McDonnell Douglas ND-80. So I haven't got the features this model before in the airport update, so Yes, I really love the ND80, and this is the first time an ND80 has ever been featured in one of my fictional airport dates. Just because ND80s are becoming increasingly rarer and rarer to find across the world, so I'm grateful that World Atlantic does operate a few of them, and Gemini just released a model of this aircraft, so I can include this aircraft in airport dates. So nonetheless, this aircraft will be doing a charge flight out to McAllen in Texas. And alright, so moving on to our next model, here we got some more random routes. Now, I really love using Allegiant models. This is because Allegiant flies some of those random destinations, and here we got some random destinations here. So this Allegiant Air's A320-200 with shortcuts has just arrived in from Knoxville in Tennessee, and he'll be heading out to Des Moines in Iowa. Moving on to our next aircraft. So this is our Super Bowl aircraft. So here the Southwest 747-800, and guess where this aircraft has arrived in from? He's arrived in from Kansas City, and he's making a continuation flight out to Las Vegas in the coming hours. So, yeah, I'm grateful I'm able to represent the Super Bowl in today's airport today, because I know a lot of you guys are big football fans. So there you go. American football fans, I should say. So, yeah, once again, this aircraft will be heading out to Las Vegas. Our next aircraft up is the wonderful Edelweiss A340-300 by Phoenix. This aircraft will be heading out to Zurich, and it has a pretty good flight there. Really love using the A340 in airport dates. Moving on to our next one here, the lovely NG Models American 747-800 with the new winglet logos. This aircraft has just arrived in from, we'll say he has just arrived in from New York John F. Kennedy, and then he's making a return flight out there in the coming hours. Moving on to another model, moving on to another model here. So here are the NG Models Flare 747-800. So I haven't got to use Flare in a while in airport dates, and I really want to get a Flare Max 8 model, so this to change it up a little bit, instead of just using these 747-800s in every update. So this Flare 747-800 will be heading out to Kitchener-Waterloo, so that's a great Canadian route for all my Canadian followers. Moving on to our next one here, and our next one is the Delta 767-300ER. We'll say this aircraft has just arrived in from Amsterdam Schiphol, and making a return flight out there in the coming hours. Moving on to our next aircraft. So here we have an aircraft that's paying tribute to the Southwest Cane Blue 747-700s, as Southwest will be retiring all their Cane Blue 747-700s in the near future. So I just want to include one for one last time in my airport date, and I decided to include the Gemini 2014 release one, just because this is a classic model here. It's a classic model that several of you guys own. So I just want to include it in today's airport date. So this Southwest 747-700 has just arrived in from Louisville and will be heading out to Providence in Rhode Island. Our next aircraft up is the United Express, and we're at ERJ-175. This aircraft has just arrived in from Cleveland and will be making a return flight out there in the coming hours. And our next aircraft up is the Delta Airlines A220-100. He's just arrived in from Dallas-Fort Worth and he's making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the Air Europa Boeing 787-9. He's just arrived in from Madrid and making a return flight out there, so I haven't got to use that JC Wings model in a while. Moving on to our next aircraft here, the United Boeing 757-200. He has just arrived in from Newark and making a return flight out there. It's a wonderful NG model. Our next model is this Play Airlines, which is A320neo. He's just arrived in from Reykjavik, Helpavik, and making a return flight out there. And our final taxiing aircraft is our first subscriber route for today's airport day, and here are the Delta 737-800 by NG Models with the lovely Swiss Commodore winglets. So, sorry about that. This aircraft has just arrived in from Minneapolis, St. Paul, and making a return flight out there, or Descent Aviation's airport. So, thank you for the subscriber route, and if you do want your subscriber route to be featured, use the Google form in the description below. So, nonetheless, let's move on over to Terminal 1. And alright, so we'll be starting off with Terminal 1. So, Terminal 1 does have a few new models over here. So nonetheless, let's get started with our first aircraft, which is this NG Models United 747-700 in the Continental Globe livery. It's a little mouthful there. I haven't got to use this model in a little bit, so we'll say this aircraft has just arrived in from Washington, Dulles, and making a return flight out there in the coming hours. Moving on to our next aircraft. Our next aircraft is this United 747-900ER. This aircraft has just arrived in from Denver and making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the United 747-MAX 8. He's just arrived in from Chicago O'Hare and he'll be making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the lovely NG Models United Airbus A321neo, one of my favorite NG models of 2024. So this aircraft is just arrived in from Phoenix and making a return flight out there And this is Daring Marks' subscriber route. So thank you for the subscriber route, and I'm glad I was able to include it in today's airport update. So if you do want a subscriber route at my fictional airport, use the subscriber route form link in the description below. Alright, moving on to our next aircraft. Here, the United Boeing 777-300ER. And this is a lovely new Gemini Jets release. This is a really lovely Gemini release. One of my favorite Gemini Jets models, and it is flaps down. I know flaps down configuration isn't realistic for an aircraft sitting at a hard stand or at a gate. But today I just wanted to use this model over at this section just to provide a wonderful lineup of United models. This 777 looks really lovely along with my other United models. So I promise you in the next airport they will have this aircraft on the runway, so to make it a little bit more realistic with the flaps down configuration. So we'll say this United 777-300ER has just arrived in from San Francisco and making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the Lufthansa Airbus A330-300, that lovely NG models release. He's just arrived in from Frankfurt and making a return flight out there, so nothing new about that flight. Moving on to our next aircraft, here are the Finnair Airbus A350-900 by NG models, what a lovely model. This aircraft has just arrived in from Helsinki and making a return flight out there. Moving on to our next aircraft here, the Panama/Winglux JetBlue Airbus A321neo in the Ribbonstone, what a lovely model. And this aircraft has just arrived in from Los Angeles and making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the lovely JC Wings Alaska Airlines, but in Subcriber 700 in the Disneyland Pixar livery. So, yes, even though the JC Wings 747 exchangeable is pretty mediocre, this model is still a great model to get just because it's just a lovely livery, and JC Wings really nailed it. And even JC Wings did improve their 747 model just a little bit. So, I highly recommend to get this model. So this 747 exchanger will be heading out to Portland, Oregon today. Pretty typical Alaska 747-800 route. Moving on to our next aircraft. Here are the American Airbus A319-100. He's just riding them from Philadelphia, making a return, and he'll be making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the American 737-MAX 8. We'll say he has just arrived them from Chicago O'Hare and making a return flight out there. Our next American 747-800 will be heading out to Dallas Fort Worth, so we got another one in today's airport day. We got quite a few of them. And our final American aircraft in this section is the American Eagle Embraer ERJ-170 in the lovely retro livery. So this aircraft will be heading out to New York LaGuardia. So that's it for Terminal 1 over my Jacksonville Fictional Airport. Let's move on over to Terminal 2. Before we move on over to Terminal 2, let's talk about some taxiing aircraft between Terminal 1 and Terminal 2. So some of our first aircraft. This is the Panama Southwest 747 in the Heart livery with the blended winglets. So in the next update, I'll be having some more Southwest 747-700. So that's pretty exciting. NG did delay their release, so we'll have to see when we finally get this. So this Southwest 747-700 has just arrived from Birmingham in Alabama, and it will be heading out to Memphis today, in Memphis in Tennessee. And our final aircraft taxiing around between these two terminals is the JetBlue Airbus A220-300, and this aircraft will be heading out to Boston today. And alright, so moving on to Terminal 2 now. We've found the Southwest section, so this section really hasn't changed too much, but I did swap out some aircraft. So starting with the first aircraft, here's the Gemini Jet Southwest 737-MAX 8, and this is the third release this time. I will say this aircraft has just arrived in from St. Louis, and he'll be heading out to Houston Hobby. Moving on to our next aircraft here, the lovely NG model Southwest 737-800 in the beautiful Illinois 1 livery. One of my favorite Southwest state liveries here. So this Southwest 737-800, we'll say he was just riding them from Chicago Midway, pretty fitting. And this aircraft will be then heading out to Syracuse in New York. Moving on to our next aircraft here, we have another Southwest Heart livery 747-800, but this time is the NG4 release. And we'll say this aircraft has just arrived in from Columbus in Ohio, and he'll be heading out to Manchester, New Hampshire. Moving on to our next aircraft here, this lovely lit Southwest 737-700 in the Louisiana 1 livery. Another pretty nice Southwest state livery, but this is a pretty mediocre Gemini model, but getting to the point now. So this Southwest 737-700, we'll say he has just arrived in from Omaha, Nebraska, and be heading out to Austin in Texas. Our next aircraft up is the Southwest 747 MAX 8. This is the NG models release. That livery is way too dark on that. But anyways, this Southwest 747 MAX 8 has just arrived in from, we'll say he's just arrived in from San Antonio and will be heading out to Baltimore in the coming hours. And our next Southwest 747-700 has just arrived in from, we'll say, he's just arrived in from Norfolk today, so my home airport, and he'll be heading out to Windsor Locks later on today. Alright, so we'll move on to some more airlines here. So starting with the next aircraft, and this is the Spirit Airbus A320neo. So this aircraft has just arrived in from Myrtle Beach, and he'll be heading out to New Orleans. So the Myrtle Beach route is a brand new Spirit route over at my Jacksonville Fictional Airport. Yes, that's a pretty cool destination. I have been there once before, so there you go. Our next aircraft up is the lovely Spirit Airlines Airbus A321neo. We'll say this aircraft has just arrived in from Dallas Fort Worth, and he'll be heading out to Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Our next aircraft up is the Breeze Airlines Airbus A320-300. So here we got some more random routes here. This aircraft has just arrived in from Akron in Ohio, and he'll be heading out to Charleston, South Carolina. Speaking of more random routes, here we have an Allegiant Airbus A319-100. This is the old Gemini just released. I haven't used this one in a little bit, so I just wanted to include it in today's airport update. So this Allegiant Airbus A319 has just arrived in from Hagerstown in Maryland, and he'll be heading out to Toledo in Ohio. And our final aircraft in this section is the Northern Pacific or New Pacific Airlines Wind 757-200, and he is just riding from Reno, Tahoe, and he's making a return flight out there. So Northern Pacific now resides over at Terminal 2. So that's pretty exciting. We can add some more lovely tails over to Terminal 2 at my airport. So that's it for this section. And all right, so moving on to Terminal 3 now. So starting off our first aircraft in the Delta Airlines section. So we do have one new airline over at Terminal 1, which is pretty exciting. So, yeah. So, starting with the first aircraft. Here we have Delta connection number ERJ-175, the fantastic Gemini just released. And I just want to keep on using this model as much as I can in airport dates. So, this aircraft is just riding from Cincinnati and making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the Delta 747-900ER. This aircraft is just riding from Seattle, Tacoma and making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the Delta Airbus A320-200. He's just riding from Raleigh, Durham, and he's making a return flight out there. Our next aircraft up is the Delta Airlines Wind 757-200. He is just riding from Atlanta, Georgia, and he's making a return flight out there. Our next model here is the Delta Airbus A321neo. He is just riding from Los Angeles, and he's making a return flight out there. And here we have the Delta Airbus A330-300, which is just riding from Paris. And our final aircraft over here is the Virgin Atlantic Airbus A350-1000. He's just riding in from London Heathrow, and he's making a return flight out there. So that's it. And so that's it for the left side of Terminal 3. Alright, so moving on to the second half of Terminal 3. So starting off with one taxi aircraft here, the Lynx Air Boeing 747 MAX 8. And he'll be doing a new route out to Vancouver. So Lynx Air has expanded their route network over at Jacksonville. So yeah, they're trying to pierce them out. Pearson route must have done pretty well. So moving on to our next aircraft. Here are the wonderful Gemini jets, Korean Air Boeing 777-300ER. So this aircraft has just arrived in from Seoul Incheon International Airport and will be soon making a return flight out there. So I haven't got to feature that model in a while, so there you go. Same can be said with this model, just because I've not featured this model in a while. And here are the wonderful Phoenix models of Azul Airlines. There was A330-900 in the breast cancer awareness livery. So this is Azul Airbus A330-900neo has just arrived in from Campinas in Brazil, and he'll be making a return flight out there. Moving on to our next aircraft here, the Air Canada and 747 MAX 8. He's just arrived in from Toronto Pearson and making a return flight out there. Haven't got to use that lovely Gemini Jets model in quite a while. And our next model up is the wonderful Gemini Jets Porter Airlines Embraer E2. So yeah, so here's the lovely Gemini Jets Porter Embraer E195 E2. So yes, I just received this new Gemini Jets model. It is a fantastic Gemini release. I really love their brand new E2 mold, and a lot of you do as well. So I'm grateful to be able to finally feature Porter Airlines in my airport update. So I would still really love for Gemini Jets to do the Q400 release of Porter again, because I'd definitely buy one. But the Porter Embraer E195 E2 is fantastic. So Yes, supporter airlines at Jacksonville Fictional Airport they'll be flying to Toronto, Pearson, and Ottawa. So this aircraft will be heading out to Ottawa in Canada. And last but not least, here are the NG models Avianca versus A320-200. And this aircraft has just arrived in from Bogota in Colombia and making a return flight out there. And that's it for Terminal 3. And alright folks, so that's conclude today's airport date. So this was the Jacksonville Fictional Airport date for February of 2024, and this was the 29th airport date. So that's it for today's video. So yes, this is a pretty nice airport day today. We got to feature a few new models and a few new routes and subscriber routes. So yes, I'd like to thank y'all so much for the support on the past few videos, as the last Jacksonville Fictional Airport day did exceptionally well, and it's one of my best performing videos ever. It has over 5,000 views, 111 likes. So I'd like to thank y'all so much for the support on that video, and a lot of new subscribers have tuned in from that video, and a lot of you want to see this wonderful airport. So that's why I keep on doing these airport dates. You guys enjoy them, I enjoy them. So yeah, these Jacksonville Fictional Airport dates are fun to make. So for the channel update, so we do have some new videos in the works. So our second part to the How to Start a Model Collection series will be coming soon, along with that Q&A video I was talking about. So use that Google form down below if you want to submit a Q&A question. There will be a face reveal in that video, and I will answer a bunch of your most highly requested questions just to celebrate me reaching 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully that'll be happening soon, because I'm only 9 away. I'm really close. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe, because I only reached 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, sorry about that little little line there. Anyways, our next news video will be coming soon as well for February 2024. Discussing the new NG feature releases, which I thought were pretty good, but we'll go more in depth with them in my next news video. And I should be seeing some new NG models and Panda models soon, so stay tuned for reviews for those, and reviews for this will be coming out on my YouTube channel in the coming weeks. So yeah, so nonetheless, that's pretty much it for this channel update. A little quick channel update for you guys. And yeah, so I'm JT Pilot, and I'd like to thank you all so much for watching this video. Have a wonderful day and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.